We're 12 parties away from quorum. Oh, we're 6 parties away from quorum. 6 parties away. Thank you.
Okay, parties, I'm going to open the morning session. Just to update that I still have 23 more documents to go for today and tomorrow morning. So I really aim to finish 12 documents today because we still have 15 in-session documents to be reviewed. And if I do not get any compromise from a party, I will probably call for a vote because I do not have time anymore for debates. I'm sorry. So I do hope you keep that in mind. So before lunch, I'm going back to the ComDoc 2 again. So before lunch, we accepted 20AA, BB, CC, DD, EE, FF. So we were on 20GG, and 20GG, we agreed to be directed to parties, so it will be moved up after 20BB. So we stopped at, and particularly endemic species, to support other parties in making required legal acquisition findings, full stop. If there are strong objections, please press your button now. So the amendment that we made was the management of CITES listed species native to their jurisdiction and particularly endemic species to support other parties in making required legal acquisition findings, full stop, and then the rest of the sentence is being deleted. If you have strong objections, please press the button now. Okay, I do not see anyone requesting for the floor, so the committee accepts 20GG. Okay, so now we will go back to Brazil's intervention in the morning of including the term founder stock in the draft guidance. So I would like to see if there's any strong objections to that, including the term founder stock in the draft guidance where relevant. If you have strong objections, please press the button now. United Kingdom, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. It's not so much in the substance, but just that I thought we weren't opening up the guidance and commenting on it. I'm sure there are other comments that other parties might want to make. So it's just more a point of principle than an objection with the specific wording. Thank you.
I think Brazil wanted to open the discussion on the draft guidance again to see if, the term founder stock could be included in the draft guidance. And I'm not opening up the floor for comments. So if you have strong objections, please press the button. And if I do not see any consensus, then we'll go for a vote. United Kingdom, you have the floor.
Oh, sorry, I thought you were seeking. Yeah, we would have concerns with opening it up now just for one set of comments. Thank you.
Canada, you have the floor.
We concur with the views of the United Kingdom.
Japan, you have the floor.
We echo Canada.
Brazil, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. This is quite an important issue for us, and we've heard in the first session support for our proposal, so we think it's important to maintain it. Thank you.
Mexico, you have the floor.
Gracias, señora presidenta. Apoyamos a Brasil con su propuesta. Gracias.
Canada, you have the floor.
Chair, Canada would strongly prefer not reopening debate. Chair, you were very clear in managing that debate and in closing that debate. We are all well aware that the guidance will be continued to be reviewed based on the decisions we took. Yes, there was support for the position proposed by Brazil, but there was also opposition. But most importantly, Chair, there was debate. And so we would conclude that we would wish to stick to your original decision and not challenge that decision. You closed debate on this issue, and we would like to move on as you had suggested at the time. Thank you, Chair.
Brazil, can I just check with you, because yes, I have already closed the item. So if you want to reopen the item, it will mean that we have to go for a vote because we have to reopen the item again. It will be a motion. So I just want to check with you if you want to, is that what you intend?
Yes, we would like to request for a motion to vote to reopen that. Thank you.
So I think firstly, we will vote to reopen the draft guidance. Then the second vote will be to include the founder stock, the term founder stock in the draft guidance. Brazil, is that the intention? Brazil, you have the floor.
Correct.
Okay, so if you vote yes, means that the item, the draft guidance in 49 will be reopened. If you vote yes, the draft guidance in 49 will be reopened. If you vote no, means that the agenda will not be reopened. Means that the draft guidance in 49 will not be open. So I repeat again, if you vote yes, the draft guidance in 49 will be reopened. If you vote no, means the draft guidance in 49 will not be reopened. Please ensure your cards are inserted properly. And please sit down. So this is a vote for Agenda 49. The voting is by normal vote. The vote of the European Union will be cast by the individual member states. So if you vote yes, the draft guidance in 49 will be reopened. If you vote no, means the draft guidance in 49 will not be reopened. Since this is a vote on a procedural matter, the decision will be adopted by simple majority. Technician, are you ready? Okay, parties, you have 40 seconds to cast your vote. The ballot is open now. Forty seconds is up. The ballot is now closed. Technician, please show the result. So the result is majority yes. So the agenda will be, so the draft guidance in 49 will be reopened. Technician, please show the result on the main screen. Please show the individual votes of the parties on the screen. Thank you. Okay, now we will go for the second vote. So for the second vote, if you vote yes, means you agree to include the term founder stock in the draft guidance where relevant. So if you vote yes, it means you agree to include the term founder stock in the draft guidance where relevant. If you vote no, means the draft guidance will remain as it is and there will be the term founder stock will not be included in the draft guidance. If you vote no, it means that the term founder stock will not be included in the draft guidance. This is a vote for Agenda 49. The voting type is by normal vote. The vote of the European Union will be cast by the individual member states. So if you vote yes, it means we agree that the term founder stock will be included in the draft guidance where relevant. If you vote no, the term founder stock will not be included in the draft guidance. Since this is a vote on a substantive matter, the decision will be adopted by 2/3 majority. Technician, are you ready? Parties, you have 40 seconds to cast your vote. The ballot is open now. Forty seconds is up. The ballot is now closed. So the result is that the term founder stock will be included in the draft guidance where relevant. Technician, please show the result on the main screen. Please show the individual votes of the parties on the screen. Thank you. Okay, so the committee agrees that the term founder stock will be included in the draft guidance where relevant. Thank you. So I will close this agenda item 49. Thank you. The next document is submitted.
Point 3 can present challenges to a wide range of terrestrial taxa, such as butterflies and tortoises and other species, and more guidance might be helpful in achieving consistency in the application of source code R. However, we would prefer to maintain the focus of the work outlined in the draft decisions presented to address the specific challenges relating to application of source code R to aquatic species. Extending the scope of the decisions as suggested by the EU and Honduras would present a much greater task for the committees requiring consideration of a much wider range of taxa and different production systems. And we are concerned that the Animals Committee would struggle to make substantive progress in that regard. Accordingly, we welcome support for all CITES parties to adopt the draft decisions as contained in Annex 1 to the current document. Thank you.
European Union, you have the floor.
Gracias, señora presidenta. Sí, tenemos nos gustaría añadir en el punto 20.AA, en el apartado A, al final se necesita revisar su aplicación para las especies animales y en particular para las especies acuáticas.
Canada, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Canada supports the adoption of these two new draft decisions as presented in Annex 1 of the document. Similar to the points expressed by the United Kingdom, Canada would prefer to maintain the focus of the work to focus on challenges relating to aquatic species. Thank you.
Tanzania, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The United Republic of Tanzania supports the adoption of the draft decision presented in Annex 1 of the document. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, now I'm going to go back to European Union's suggested text, to 28A little a. In the last sentence, revise in its application to animal species, in particular aquatic species. So 28A little a, revised in its application to animal species, in particular aquatic species. I'm asking parties if there's any objections to this. Please press the button. Any objections?
And also, we need to change the title.
United States of America, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. The United States would like to align with the United Kingdom and Canada to note that perhaps after this scope of work, the Animals Committee could then consider whether there is a need for additional recommendations to consider additional species that could benefit from such a review, but we do feel that the prioritization should remain on aquatic species at this time, and that even the revision to include all animal species in the edit proposed by the European Union could expand and bog down the work of the committees at this particular juncture with the limited resources. Thank you.
Australia, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. We agree with the comments made by the USA, Canada and the UK. Thank you.
European Union, I just want to go back to you again to see if you can compromise that let the Animals Committee deal with aquatic species first and then come back to terrestrial species, because I think it is fair to say that it is a lot of work to Animals Committee and there is really work prioritization in progress. So are you okay with the compromise? European Union, you have the floor.
Yes, we agree with that. That has been suggested by the committee.
So European Union, can I confirm that we will agree to the current text in 28A little a, just to be clear that you are agreeable to accept the text in 28A little a, keeping it to aquatic species? Yeah, you have the floor.
Yes, we can agree to that at this moment in time, and we liked the suggestion by the US that the committees look after prioritization of the work on aquatic species again and other animal species that may warrant further review.
Thank you, European Union. Thank you for the compromise. So I'm looking if, okay, I do not see any more requests from the floor. So the committee agree to the new draft decisions 20AA and 20BB contained in Annex 1 of document 67.2. Thank you very much. The item is closed. The next document is 68, document 68, submitted by the Standing Committee. So we're invited to agree on the amendments to Resolution Conference 12.10 on registration of operations that breed Appendix 1 animal species in captivity for commercial purposes and delete Decision 19.181. So now I open the floor to parties if they have any objections to the proposed amendments. Any objections to the proposed amendments? Mexico, you have the floor.
Gracias, señora presidenta. Agradecemos a los Estados Unidos por presidir el Grupo de Trabajo Intersesional. Como se especifica en las actas del Comité Permanente, México y otras partes estuvieron de acuerdo con la mayoría de las recomendaciones del Grupo de Trabajo Intersesional y del Comité en los cuales participamos. Sin embargo, no apoyamos ni hubo consenso en mantener la mención al Comité Permanente en el nuevo párrafo 5H para que decida qué productos puede comerciar un establecimiento registrado ante las CITES. Esta referencia también se encontraba en otro párrafo que el Comité Permanente aceptó eliminar. Como indicamos anteriormente, una vez que el registro se obtiene, significa que la autoridad administrativa y los comités han determinado que el manejo y comercio de la especie son adecuados y, por tanto, el comercio de todas sus partes y derivados es legal, sustentable y trazable. Por lo tanto, México solicita que sea eliminada la referencia al Comité Permanente al final del nuevo inciso H del párrafo 5 de la resolución CONF 12.10 Rev COP 15. Gracias.
European Union, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Chair. I speak on behalf of the EU and its member states. And to focus on the important points, I'd say right away we support Mexico on this proposal. In general, we support the document and the changes. They are a compromise. The compromise was reached after long, substantial and fruitful discussions in the intersessional working group and at the last standing committee meeting. The proposed amendments are a good result, which provides a reasonable balance. This delicate balance should be upheld. Only two points remain to be clarified and settled, and Mexico mentioned the first one, paragraph 5H. It contains a misleading element. For the publication in the Register of Operations that breed Appendix 1 animal species in captivity for commercial purposes, it is correctly proposed to include a reference to any exclusions of products from the registration for the operation by the management authority. However, the publication should not also include a reference for exclusion of products from the registration made by the Standing Committee, because, rightly so, there is no provision that allows the Standing Committee to exclude products from the registration. The textual element or Standing Committee should therefore not be adopted, in other words, deleted from what was proposed. The second point, where we would like to, let's say, correct a small mistake, is the following. The scientific authority needs to be included in the findings on conservation benefits by the management authority under new paragraph 5L. This was already agreed at Animals Committee 33. and at Standing Committee 78 see the summary record, but somehow it did not find its way into the final document. We submitted a simple draft text to fix this to the Secretariat. If you would like to, I can read that out.
Yes, please.
A new paragraph 5L, current paragraph 5J of Res. Conf 1210, CoP15, as proposed to be amended by the proposals in Doc 68. The text, and I quote, in collaboration with the scientific authority, should be included after, I quote, the management authority. Thank you. The renumbered paragraph would then read as follows. The management authority, in collaboration with the scientific authority, shall satisfy itself that the captive breeding operation will make a continuing meaningful contribution according to the conservation needs of the species concerned. Thank you very much.
You have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. The UAE appreciates the work of the Standing Committee and Intersectional Working Group in reviewing Resolution CoP 12.10. We support efforts to strengthen transparency and compliance for Appendix 1 captive breeding operations. After reviewing the proposed amendments, the UAE would like to highlight two main issues. The first, the product exclusions. The new wording in paragraph 5H would allow the Standing Committee to exclude certain products from registered operation. This goes beyond the mandates set in paragraph 5B, which clearly place the primary responsibility for approving operations on the management and scientific authorities of the exporting party. Decisions on exportable products linked directly to the national legislation's enforcement capacity and risk assessment, matters that must remain to the party or exporting party. Therefore, they proposed deleting the word of Standing Committee from the paragraph 5H. The second change, the change within an operations. The draft used the term significant change without defining it, which may result in inconsistent reporting. To improve clarity, the UAE proposed using substantial change, a more precise and commonly used in international practices. Thank you, Chair.
China, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. China supports the views just shared by Mexico. China considers that all specimens from registered captive breed operations shall be entitled with proper exemption according to the Article 7 of the Convention. We don't anticipate significant value in terms of conservation if certain types of specimens produced from CBO were excluded from the exemption. China is in view of that we shall respect the text of the Convention. In conclusion, China doesn't support revision of this resolution. Thank you.
India, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. India wishes to thank the Standing Committee for the document CoP20 Doc 3068. The Government of India has also notified the Breeders of Species License Rules 2023 as prescribed in the provision of the Act. Chair, we wish to suggest few edits. In the new paragraph 5K of the draft amendment resolution, the words that have been amended or excluded be added before the words does not comply with provisions of resolution conference 10.16. In the same paragraph 5...
Sorry, can you just... So it's the new para K.
In paragraph 5K of the draft amendment resolution, the words...
Which sentence is it?
No, actually, we are just adding the words are, we are requesting to add that have been amended or excluded be added before the words does not comply with the provisions of resolution. That can be added before.
Second line of key.
In the paragraph 5K. Can I go for next edit?
Can you repeat again?
Okay, please. We wish to suggest for addition, actually, in the paragraph 5K of the draft amendment resolution, and the words that have been amended or excluded be added. This particular words can be added before the words does not comply with the provisions of resolution, conference 10.16. Madam Chair, is it okay? I can.
Yes, please continue.
Okay. Next edit is in the same new paragraph 5K, the words or the original condition for registration of the operation after the words resolution conference 10.16 be deleted. And in the serial number 11, the words and any product specifically excluded from export for operation may be deleted. Thank you, Chair.
United States of America, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. The United States thanks the Secretariat and the parties and the working group members for their contributions on this. We support adopting the proposed amendments to Resolution Conf 12.10 contained in the annex to this document. If adopted, these amendments will allow registering parties and the Standing Committee to have a well-tailored oversight of the narrow exemption for commercial trade in Appendix 1 species. With regard to the suggested amendments to the new paragraph H in the annex to this document, we note that the inclusion of the Standing Committee in the decision concerning the exclusion of products from the registration of an operation is intended to align with the procedure that's outlined in the resolution, whereby the Standing Committee has a role to play in determining whether a registration for which the Secretariat has received objections can be included in the register. So by excluding the Standing Committee from that new paragraph H, then the decision, then the decision of the Standing Committee with regard to the procedure for registering application or requests for registration would be simply to exclude an operation from the register or include it. But by having the Standing Committee there, that decision can be narrowed to specifically focus on those specimens of the operation that pose a lower conservation risk. So that's why the United States would argue for retaining the reference to the Standing Committee in this new paragraph H. Thank you, Chair.
I'm going to close the speaker list now. I have Switzerland, United Kingdom, Israel, Canada. Switzerland, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Switzerland shares the comments made by the EU related to H and L, respectively J. Thank you.
United Kingdom, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair, and I appreciate that the document and the recommendations are the results of the works of the working group. We could support the amendment to paragraph H raised by Mexico, EU, UAE, and China. And we can also support the change from significant change to substantial change as proposed by the UAE. It may be that I didn't fully understand, but at this stage we're not in a position to support India's comments on 5K. And I think that, and then with regard to paragraph L, just a question for the EU, would they be happy to change the phrasing to in consultation with the scientific authority, just to be a bit more consistent with standard language? Thank you.
Israel, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. We would like to support the position taken by the United States which explained why the word standing committee is included in subparagraph H. But what we would suggest as a way forward, perhaps, on this particular sentence is in that second last line that begins with any exclusions of products from the registration for the operation, to end that clause there, not just mention either management authority or standing committee, and that just covers any exclusions for whatever reason, and that would perhaps satisfy the objections that we had heard. There certainly is a case where the standing committee can make exclusions according to the resolution, but it might be easier if nothing is mentioned, just any exclusions. We would support the UAE's suggestion on significant, but we cannot support the changes that were proposed by India. Thank you, Chair.
Canada, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. And thank you to the working group and the Standing Committee for this document, which Canada generally supports, and recognition that it was a long and in-depth discussion that was had intersessionally. With particular respect to paragraph H on the reference to or standing committee, Canada aligns with Mexico and others who would delete this reference. We note that it's the new paragraph K, that speaks to the role of the standing committee and speaks, as the U.S. pointed out, only to its role in terms of adding or removing the register. So we don't see the need to have the standing committee referenced in terms of exclusions. As far as we understand in the proposed amendments here, those decisions are still resting with the management authorities. Like others, we are not in a position to accept the changes proposed by India. We think it changes the intent, and we prefer the original intent. We can accept the addition of in consultation with the scientific authority as proposed by the EU and amended slightly by the UK. And we also are happy to replace significant with substantial if that eases understanding. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. So I just want to go back to European Union in collaboration with scientific authority with changing the word in consultation. Is that okay with you? Because it's just being consistent with the terms. European Union, you have the floor.
Yes, we are okay with that. And we're also okay with the UAE proposal and with and also with what else was there? Yeah, thank you for now.
Thank you. I open the floor to non-parties and observer organizations, then I will summarize and round back. Thank you. AWI, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. This intervention is made on behalf of the Animal Welfare Institute. We would like to support the position reflected in the intervention by the distinguished delegate of the United States. As a reminder to parties, at SC 74 in Lyon, France, Mexico was able to achieve success in registering Earth Ocean Farms, a captive breeding facility for Totoaba and Appendix 1 species. The only reason it succeeded in obtaining that registration is because both Mexico and Earth Ocean Farms agreed not to trade in swim bladders of Totoaba pursuant to this registration. We are concerned that if the change is made to paragraph 5H, that this could create a situation where Mexico, in the future, both in the context of Earth Ocean Farms and other Totoaba captive breeding facilities that it may choose to register under ResComp 1210, that it will unilaterally be able to allow for the trade in Totoaba swim bladders. I'm sure there are other examples of species where this kind of risk could come up, But with Totoaba, given the impact of illegal fishing on vaquita, we would strongly encourage parties to take this into consideration in regards to their position on this issue. Going down this path is very dangerous. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, everyone. So I will just go through the edits now to make sure we're on the same page. So for 5G, it is the word significant is being replaced with substantial. So 5G, replace significant with substantial. So 5H, I heard more support for removal of standing committee. So my sensing is to just remove all standing committee because that was what most of the support is. And I just want to see if everyone can live with that. So just remove all standing committee. But I did hear that there was suggestion on removal of by the management authority or standing committee. But I heard more support and more compromise on just removal of standing committee. So can we compromise on that? So just removal of all standing committee. And then we go to the new para L. New para L, it will read in consultation with the scientific committee, the management authority in consultation with the scientific authority shall satisfy itself, and then the sentence follows. So it will read the management authority in consultation with the scientific authority shall satisfy itself, then the sentence follows. Okay, I do not see any requests from the floor. Fiji, you have the floor.
Sorry, Madam Chair, you had actually closed the speaker list before we could press the button. For Fiji, it's very important because we are already experiencing this issue for a inclusion of a very small paragraph that recognizes the transparency on legal origin of founder stock. That is after paragraph 5H.
Fiji, I really do not want to open the discussion again. I think there was nobody raising that, and we are really running out of time. So I do not want to open the debate on this again. So can we compromise and move on?
Yeah, in the spirit of compromise, that's okay, but I guess for PSEEDS in particular, Pacific Seeds, this is a ongoing issue that we would have really liked introduced, and it's very simple language that's talking about documentation, but I believe, Chair, if we are not allowed to introduce it, that's fine.
Okay, we'll take note of your comment, thank you. So the committee is invited to accept the amendments to Resolution Conference 12.10 in the annex with amendments from the floor as read out just now, and also delete decision 19.181. And I close this agenda item, thank you. Okay, the next agenda item is 56. Item 56. So there's two documents under this agenda item. I will be opening both documents together for discussion. So 56.1 is submitted by the Standing Committee. So, and then 56.2 is submitted by the United Kingdom and Switzerland. So now I will give the floor to one of the proponents to introduce the document. Switzerland, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair.
I'm pleased to introduce document CoP20 Doc 65.2 submitted by the United Kingdom and Switzerland. The document invites parties to revisit the question of whether a hub model for the electronic exchange of CITES permits could strengthen and scale up our collective efforts to modernize trade processes under the Convention. As many of you will recall, a feasibility study conducted in 2016 explored both point-to-point and hub-based models for electronic permit exchange. At that time, the ECIT working group chose to focus on point-to-point solutions as the most feasible options, while leaving the door open for future consideration of a hub. Since then, parties and the Secretariat have made significant progress in publishing detailed guidance and specification for CITES implementation. However, recent experience from other international systems, most notably the eFITO hub, which now connects 96 countries and has enabled more than 8 million certificate exchanges, demonstrates that a centralized hub can cover substantial advantages and be technically feasible. These include simplified connections, reduced administrative burden, improved scalability, harmonized standards, enhanced security, and potentially significant cost savings, especially compared to establishing thousands of bilateral point-to-point connections between all parties. On this basis, the document proposes additional draft decisions requesting the Secretariat to conduct an assessment of the technical, financial, and legal feasibility of a CITES hub model, and the Standing Committee to review this assessment and bring recommendations to COP21. These additions have been integrated into the broader set of draft decisions of COP20 Doc 56.1. We note the Secretariat's support for this proposal and its recommendation to include a cost-benefit analysis building on previous UNEP WCMC work and lessons from the IPPC eFITO solutions, which the proponents can support. We also wish to highlight that the proposed activities would be subject to extra budgetary resources. As such, we encourage parties to support this addition to the decisions relating to electronic systems and information technology. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Switzerland. I now open the floor to parties. European Union, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The EU and its member states support the adoption of the draft decisions contained in the Annex 1 of the document if amendments as proposed in the document 56.2 submitted by the UK and Switzerland are also taken into account. We also agree with the deletion of the implemented decision 19150 to 19152. We acknowledge the progress made in the work of the working group on electronic systems and in information technologies and support its further continuation. We also recognize as useful the elaboration of the guidelines on the use of two-dimensional barcodes on CITES permit certificates by CITES secretariats. We agree to add the reference to this guidance in paragraph 3D in resolution COP 12.3 Ref COP 19 on permits and certificates as proposed by CITES secretariat. We further note that in spite of the fact that CITES e-permitting systems have already been implemented in some countries, full implementation, including electronic permit information exchange between countries, have not been reported yet. To facilitate such exchange of electronic permit information between the parties in future, we therefore welcome the proposal submitted in the COP20 Doc 56.2 by the UK and Switzerland, with edits as proposed by CITES Secretariat to add additional decisions to include a Secretariat assessment of a hub model for CITES permit exchange. We are convinced that a hub model architecture, which is also applied in the currently developed EU CITES e-permitting system, represents a better solution comparing to point-to-point exchange between parties. Finally, it is important to know that the proposed assessment of feasibility and options using a hub model should take into account interoperability with existing e-permitting systems, including those already based on hub model to enable hub-to-hub exchange. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Bahrain, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Bahrain supports the work on electronic permitting
and already operates an advanced national e-permit system. However, Bahrain has concern about a possible central hub, including legal and data protection issues, cybersecurity risks, and the danger of creating a single point of failure. Bahrain therefore stressed that any hub should remain optional, fully interoperable with the existing systems, and backed by strong guarantees on data governance, cybersecurity, and sustainable funding before moving beyond visibility study. If you allow me, Madam Chair, to propose some amendments and some decisions. In document 56.2, 20 CC, we suggest the following: conduct an assessment of a long-term technical, legal, and financial visibility and options for using a voluntary hub model for CITES electronic permit data exchange, which is fully interoperable with and does not replace existing national or P2P systems. The assessment should also identify risk relating to data protection, sovereignty, cybersecurity, and single point of failure, and propose mitigation measures. Thank you, Chair.
Can you please repeat that again?
Conduct an assessment of the long-term technical, legal, and financial visibility and options for using a strictly voluntary hub model for CITES electronic permit data exchange, which is fully interoperable with and does not replace existing national B2B systems. The assessment should also identify risk related to data protection, sovereignty, cybersecurity, and single points of failure, and propose mitigation measures. Thank you.
Malaysia, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Malaysia thanks the Standing Committee and the Secretariat for their thorough work in advancing the electronic system agenda as detailed in document CoP20 Doc 56.1. We welcome the significant progress made, particularly the finalization of the guidelines on the use of two-dimensional 2D barcodes. Malaysia is supportive of the proposed new draft decision on the amended to Resolution CONT 12.3. We believe they provide a clear and comprehensive roadmap for the coming years. Malaysia is pleased to report significant progress in the digital transformation of its CITES permit management through the development of our national electronic system called MyCITES, in alignment with Resolution CONT 12.3 Rev COP 19 on permits and certificate and guided by the e-CITES implementation framework and related guidelines. MyCITES has been designed to enhance the transparency, security, and efficiency of the permit issuance process. We are proud to announce that Malaysia will fully transition to a fully electronic permitting system with implementation commencing on 1st of January 2026. Thank you, Chair.
United States of America, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The United States thanks the Standing Committee for this report and appreciates the work done by the Working Group, the Standing Committee, and the Secretariat. We support the recommendations to adopt the new draft decisions contained in Annex 1 of COP20 Doc 56.1 and the Secretariat's proposed amendment to Resolution COP 12.3 permits and certificates. We would also like to propose an additional task under draft decision 20.BB directed to the Standing Committee. We propose to make a new paragraph G with the current paragraph G to become paragraph H. The new paragraph G will state, consider technical options to support implementation by e-permitting systems of nomenclatural changes to the appendices in a manner that preserves historical trade data on any taxon independent of changes in nomenclature and/or taxonomy. We request this additional task as the current method of assigning unique identifiers for scientific names found in the appendices does not provide a reliable method for connecting past nomenclature to current nomenclature, thus representing an impediment to effective implementation of electronic CITES systems. We would also like to note that there's already a review of feasibility in 20 CC point D, so we just wanted to point that out as well. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Could you please repeat again for your new para slowly? Thank you.
Yes. The new paragraph G will state, consider technical options to support implementation by permitting systems of nomenclatural changes to the appendices in a manner that preserves historical trade data on any taxon independent of changes in nomenclature and/or taxonomy.
Still too fast. Can you repeat again? Thank you.
My apologies. Consider technical options to support implementation by permitting systems of nomenclatural changes to the appendices in a manner that preserves historical trade data on any taxon independent of changes in nomenclature and/or taxonomy.
UAE, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. The UAE supports the intervention made by Bahrain on 56.2 20cc. We thank the United Kingdom and Switzerland for presenting the proposed in CoP20 Doc 56.2 and potential a hub model for electronic CITES permit exchange. We recognize that that a centralized hub could improve efficiency and support broader participations, especially for parties with limited technical capacity. At the same time, the UAE highlights the need to carefully assess key issues such as data security, national data protection requirements, and the compatibility of a hub with advanced national system already in place. For this reason, the UAE supports conducting a full feasibility study before considering any future direction. And the UAE supports the draft decisions in the 56.1 and 56.2 as amended by Bahrain. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, I'll be closing the speaker list. I have Japan, China, Russian Federation, United States of America. Japan, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Japan welcomes the presented documents, including hub model. Unfortunately, the current efforts of each country have a unique interface, and a more standardized approach is necessary to make further progress. Therefore, we strongly support the hub model and support both documents. Thank you, Madam Chair.
China, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. China respectfully requests clarification why the decision 20.AA for item 56.2 is the same as the decision 20.AA for item 56.1. These two items have different concerns. The first item concern on a hub model, and the later one concern on the electronic system and information technology. So, again, thank you, Madam Chair.
China, so just to explain is that the two documents, the draft decisions are the same, but United Kingdom and Switzerland just wanted to add two new draft decisions, so it's just to facilitate comparison of the document. Russian Federation, you have the floor.
Спасибо, госпожа председатель. Российская Федерация благодарит за подготовленные документы. Хотели бы отметить и согласиться с позицией коллег из Бахрейна и также акцентировать внимание на том, что реализация любых новых информационных систем, которые распространяются на все страны, должны учитывать вопросы информационной безопасности каждой из сторон. Поэтому при реализации могут возникнуть также дополнительные вопросы, что требует внимания. Спасибо.
United States of America, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The United States is a little bit confused regarding the intervention made by Bahrain on a feasibility study and then what's provided in the document under 20cc little b. It seems that the Secretariat has done a cost analysis of what the feasibility study would be under 20cc little b of $40,000. And so I'm just trying to figure out what is the difference between these feasibility studies, and if the Bahrain study is different, what is the cost of that? Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Bahrain, can I pass the floor to you to explain? Thank you, Bahrain, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We actually, our amendments regarding the decisions 20cc, that we actually focusing on the long term of assessment and to considering the hub as a voluntary. This is the main issue here. It's not should be actually mandatory, and it should subject it to availability of funding, and also should consider the sovereignty and cybersecurity and also the single points of failure. So this is our concern, and this could be applicable not only for the 20cc, it could be also applicable for the decision directed to the standing committee. So as a package, we are considering of these concerns.
I open the floor to non-parties and observer organizations. SPREP, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. SPREP, in collaboration with UNCTAD, has completed feasibility studies for the implementation of the Asinkuda CITES system in the Solomon Islands and Papua New Guinea. And furthermore, SPREP will be working with the Oceania parties to raise funds and to implement electronic CITES permitting systems across the SPREP region, aiming to achieve a coverage of CITES systems in the Pacific that is as complete as possible. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, United States of America, just coming to you. So I think I heard that you support document 56.1, the annex, and also the Secretariat's comments. I just wanted to check if you are okay to accept 56.2 with an additional paragraph, which you have mentioned, which I'll read out, which is in 20BB after H, after the new H, before the new H. Consider technical options to support implementation by e-permitting systems of nomenclature changes to the appendices in a manner that preserves historical trait data on any taxon, independent of change in nomenclature and or taxonomy. So I just want to check if you're okay with that. United States of America, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Regarding document 56.2, we remain having concerns about Bahrain's proposal, but we can accept the other amendments.
Yeah, I'll come back to that later on, but I'm just saying the original text in 56.2, yeah, and then with the addition of the draft decision that you wanted, so just want to make sure that's correct. Okay.
Yes, that was correct.
Yeah. Okay, then I will come to Bahrain's amendment, which is in 20cc, little b. So what I understand that is that they just want to have a bit more detail on the assessment. So I'm going to read out the text. Consider an assessment of the long-term technical, legal, and financial feasibility and options for using a voluntary hub model for CITES electronic permit data exchange, which is fully interoperable with and does not replace existing national B2B systems. And on Bahrain's comments on cybersecurity, all these issues could be taken up in the assessment study. It could be part of the terms of reference of the assessment. So I repeat again, conduct an assessment of the long-term technical, legal, and financial feasibility and options for using a voluntary hub model for CITES electronic permit data exchange, which is fully interoperable with and does not replace existing national B2B systems. So that would be 20cc little b. So can I check if there is strong objection to that? Bahrain, you can have the floor.
Yes, just to correct, and does not replace existing national or B2B systems. Or, this is my words.
Okay, noted. Okay, I do not see any objections from the floor.
Sorry, Chair.
Okay, so the committee agrees to the draft decisions on electronic systems and information technology contained in the annex in document 56.2 and as amended as I read out just now, with the amendments I read out just now, and also delete decisions 19.150 to 19.152. And I also heard support for the amendment to para 3D in resolution 12.3 in 56.1 under the comments of the Secretariat. Is a slight amendment to include guidelines on the use of two-dimensional barcodes on CITES permits or certificates. So I do not see any requests from the floor. So the committee agrees to the amendment to paragraph 3D in Resolution Conference 12.3 on permits and certificates, with the amendment to include guidelines on the use of two-dimensional barcodes on CITES permits or certificates in document 56.1. So I close this item. Thank you very much. So the next item is 58. Item 58, submitted by the Standing Committee. I understand that the Secretariat would like to provide an update on this agenda item based on the discussions that took place at SC 79 on 23rd November. Secretariat, please, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. At the 79th meeting of the Standing Committee in Samarkand on 23rd November, the Standing Committee endorsed the guidance on risk assessment and inspections for CITES trade control with a few minor amendments proposed by the United States. With the endorsement of the guidance by the SC 79, the Secretariat recommends deletions of the decisions 19.153 to 19.155 on risk assessment and analysis for border control of CITES listed species. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Secretariat. I understand that the Standing Committee had approved the guidance on risk assessment and inspections for CITES trade controls. So the Conference of Parties is only required to note this document and delete decisions 19.153 to 19.155. So I turn to parties to see if there are any objections to deleting decisions 19.153 to 19.155. United Kingdom, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. As noted at the Standing Committee 79, the UK can support the deletion of decisions 19.152A and 19.153 to 19.155. However, we would like to propose the inclusion of the substance of decision 19.153 into paragraph 13 of the resolution 11.3 on compliance and enforcement, as this is an ongoing activity. We have made some necessary amends to the text of the decision 19.153 so that it would fit into resolution 11.3. Would you like me to read these amends through now? Thank you. So to note, we're working off the decision text 19.153, and we would like to add this under paragraph 13, new subpara G. So we would strike through where this has not yet been done, parties are encouraged to, and then we would keep the text, undertake risk assessments to develop, add new text or review, continue with existing text, risk profiles specific to CITES listed specimens, frequently exported and imported by the party. And then we would like to add new text, integrate these risk profiles into broader national customs risk management systems using the guidance on risk assessment and inspections for CITES trade controls. And we would strike through to the existing text, reach out to the World Customs Organization, new text, and other organizations, and then returning to the existing text for support in this regard where needed. Would you like me to repeat that as it would be?
Yeah, please repeat the
Thank you.
Integrate that part, integrate these risk profiles.
Just that bit? Okay. So the new text would be integrate these risk profiles into broader national customs risk management systems using the guidance on risk assessment and inspections for CITES trade controls.
Can you just repeat one more time? Thank you.
Of course. Integrate these risk profiles into broader national customs risk management systems using the guidance on risk assessment and inspections for CITES trade controls and
So can I just read out the para again and just correct me if I'm wrong? So it's strike out where this has not yet been done. So it'll be parties are encouraged to undertake risk assessments, to develop risk profiles specific to CITES listed specimens frequently exported and imported by the party. Then new text. Oh no, sorry. Parties are encouraged to undertake risk assessments to develop or review risk profiles. Then the sentence follows, exported and imported by the party.
No, sorry. Would you like me to read it as it would be?
Yep, so can you just read out the whole para again?
Absolutely. Undertake risk assessments to develop or review risk profiles specific to CITES listed specimens, frequently exported and imported by the party. Integrate these risk profiles into broader national customs risk management systems using the guidance on risk assessment and inspection for CITES trade controls, and reach out to the World Customs Organization and other organizations for support in this regard where needed.
Thank you. Kyrgyzstan, you have the floor.
Спасибо, госпожа председатель. Мы высоко ценим важную работу, проведенную секретариатом CITES и Всемирной таможенной организацией по продвижению рискоориентированных подходов к контролю на границе для видов, включенных в списки приложения CITES, посредством обеспечения стран руководством по оценке рисков и инспекциям для контроля торговли CITES. Мы поддерживаем предложение Великобритании и о сохранении внимания на этом важном подходе, интегрировав предложенное ниже решение 19.153 в пункт 13 резолюции 11.3 «Соблюдение и обеспечение исполнения». Мы также предлагаем подготовить проекты решений о переводе руководства на дополнительные языки и поощрять обмен опытом применения руководства, формируя коллективную базу знаний. Наши проекты решений новые. Сторонам, межправительственным и неправительственным организациям Рекомендуется поддерживать перевод руководства по оценке рисков и инспекциям для контроля торговли CITES на дополнительные языки для повышения доступности. Второе. При наличии внешнего финансирования сторонам рекомендуется делиться, а секретариату собирать информацию об опыте и извлеченных уроков применения руководства с целью формирования коллективной базы знаний, поддерживающей постоянное совершенствование и адаптацию рискоориентированных подходов. Спасибо.
Thank you. So I just want to summarize before I open. Kyrgyzstan, can I just get you to repeat again on the new text?
Сторонам,
Slowly, please. Yeah, thank you.
межправительственным и неправительственным организациям рекомендуется поддерживать перевод руководства по оценке рисков и инспекциям для контроля торговли CITES на дополнительные языки для повышения доступности. При наличии внешнего финансирования сторонам рекомендуется делиться, а секретариату собирать информацию об опыте и извлеченных уроках применения руководства с целью формирования коллективной базы знаний, поддерживающей постоянное совершенствование и адаптацию рискоориентированных подходов.
Could you please repeat after Secretariat to collect information on expertise?
Об опыте и извлеченных уроках применения руководства с целью формирования коллективной базы знаний, поддерживающей постоянное совершенствование и адаптацию рискоориентированных подходов.
Uzbekistan, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. We share the position expressed by Kyrgyzstan. Thank you.
I open the floor to non-parties and observer organizations. So I just want to get parties' views or not, as in, okay, I'm just going to read out the proposed para suggested by UK to include into Resolution 11.3, para 13. So I'm going to read out the paragraph again, And then I'm going to ask if there's any objections from the floor. So the proposal is undertake risk assessments to develop or review risk profiles specific to CITES listed specimens, frequently exported and imported by the party, integrate these risk profiles into broader national customs risk management systems using the guidance on risk assessment and inspections for CITES trade controls, and reach out to World Customs Organization and other organizations for support in this regard where needed. So I just want to, if you have strong objections, please press the button now. Okay, I see no request from the floor. So I will go to the next proposed amendment by Kyrgyzstan. So Kyrgyzstan, I understand that it will be 2 new draft decisions. So one of them will read, subject to the availability of external resources, parties of government and IGOs support the translation of guidance on risk assessment and inspections for CITES trade controls to additional languages to provide higher level of accessibility. And the next draft decision will read, Secretariat to collect information on expertise and lessons learned of applying the use of the guidance on risk assessment and inspections for CITES trade controls for knowledge sharing and continued improvement of the guidelines. Kyrgyzstan, I just want to check if we got what you have proposed. Kyrgyzstan, please.
Все правильно.
Okay, now I open the floor to see if there's any objections from parties to have these 2 new draft decisions. United States of America, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The United States can support the first draft decision as proposed. However, support the translation is a little bit vague if it's like financially supporting the translation. But if entities outside the Secretariat are doing the translation, it needs to be identified as an unofficial document or unofficial translation. Just to make that clear, that if it's not being done by the Secretariat. Thank you.
Okay, United States of America, so suggested text, see if you can live with it. So encourage parties of government and IGOs to support the unofficial translation of guidance on risk assessment and inspections for CITES trade controls to additional languages to provide higher level accessibility. So we just added the unofficial translation of guidance. Okay, thank you. Okay. Any more objections? Okay, so the committee agrees to delete decisions 19.153 to 19.155, and we add a new paragraph under para 13 of resolution 11.3, as read out just now and proposed by the UK, and also 2 new draft decisions, which I read out just now and proposed by Kyrgyzstan. So I will, United States of America, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The United States only supports that first draft decision, not the second one, as proposed by Kyrgyzstan.
So it's only on the translation, but not on the lessons learned. Perhaps you could share more on the rationale for not accepting, because it's just about sharing of lessons learned, Secretariat to collect information. Yeah, United States of America.
I'm just trying to be cognizant of the work that's being tasked to the Secretariat and the committees. I think that we have this document is just adopted. We can use it for the next 3 years, and then we can sort of collect it at a later date. I don't know if it's really necessary to collect this information and start to revise it right away.
Can I suggest, as a compromise, for encourage parties to share on expertise and lessons learned? Kyrgyzstan, can you live with that? So that means parties are encouraged to share instead of Secretariat collecting the information. Kyrgyzstan, you have the floor.
Согласны.
Thank you very much for the compromise. Thank you. So I will close this item. Thank you. Next item is 69. Document 69, submitted by the Plans Committee. So there are proposed draft decisions in the annex, and also to delete decisions 19.182 to 183. I now open the floor to parties. Thank you. Fiji, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Fiji supports the recommendation in CoP20 Doc 69 and appreciates the extensive work of the Secretariat and the Plans Committee in clarifying the terms artificially propagated and assisted production. For range states like Fiji, home to highly venerable native orchids and sandalwood, clear and enforceable definitions are essential to prevent laundering of wild orchid specimens. Chair, Fiji proposes two focused but crucial improvements. First is on, and both relate to 20 BB. First one is around Appendix 1 nurseries that must prove legal origin of their parental stock. We believe that this is not theoretical for us, and many of our native species can be easily removed. So addition to decision 20 BB directed to parties, it's a soft language and it's read. Can I read it?
Yes, please.
Parties are encouraged to verify and document the legal origin of parental stocks for specimens produced under source codes A or Y, comma, and make this information available to range states upon request. Just for clearance, for us it protects.
Can you please repeat again? Thank you.
Sorry, I'll read in transcription speed. Parties are encouraged to verify and document the legal origin of parental stock for specimens produced under source codes A or Y, comma, and make this information available to states upon request.
Can I just clarify to states or range states upon request?
Range states. So again, we've used encouraged, and we believe that that's a lighter language. On the second edition, it's also under 20 BB. Here, the issue that we think may And again, we are okay for this one if it's not needed, but we were thinking around that source code Y specimens are not artificially propagated, and therefore they do not qualify for exemptions under Article 7, 4, or 5. So we thought to explicitly state that parties shall ensure that the use of source code Y does not remove or reduce the requirement for a scientifically based non-detrimental finding for any wild origin species.
Yeah, please repeat again. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. It reads, parties shall ensure that the use of source code Y does not remove or reduce the requirement for a scientifically based non-detrimental finding for any wild origin species. For the letter, we remain flexible if it's not accepted, but Chair, these two amendments strengthen the guidance, protect native flora in island countries like Fiji, and close the most significant enforcement gaps without adding burden to parties. With these additions, Fiji supports the adoption of this proposal.
European Union, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. I speak on behalf of the EU and its member states. The EU supports adoption of the draft decision in CoP20 Doc 69 and deletion of the implemented decisions 19182 and 19183. We additionally want to highlight that with CoP20 Doc 93, significant amendments to Resolution Conf 1610 on implementation of the Convention for agarwood producing taxa have been adopted by Committee 1 a few days ago. And if these amendments to Resolution Conf 1610 will be finally adopted by this COP, those parts that relate to agarwood and the guidance on terms related to the artificial propagated of CITES regulated plants, but also in the guide to the application of CITES source codes need to be revised and updated because in the current versions they refer to specifications and requirements of the previous version of Resolution Conf 1610. Thank you.
India, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. India welcomes the update in the guide to the application of CITES source codes, which reflects the adoption of the source code Y for assisted production. India supports a draft decision on guidance on terms related to the production and source of CITES regulated plants as contained in the annex to the COP20 Doc 69 and also agree for the deletion of decision 19.182 and 19.183. Thank you, Chair.
Tanzania, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. The United Republic of Tanzania supports the progress made by the Plant Committee and the Secretariat to develop the draft decision on guidance on terms related to the production and the source of codes of CITES regulatory plants contained in the annex to the present document. Also, Tanzania supports the deletion of decision 19.182 and 19.183. Thank you.
I open the floor to non-parties and observer organizations. Canada, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. So thank you as well to Fiji for the additional proposed decisions, we were reflecting a bit on these proposals. So Canada can support the decisions as proposed by the Plants Committee. Regarding the first decision that Fiji added or encouraged, Canada is happy to support that decision. For the second decision that Fiji is proposing, that parties shall ensure the use of source code Y, Canada would suggest that this decision is unnecessary. I think the guidance on the use of the source code is clear, and ultimately the direction on the making of non-detriment findings is found in the convention itself, and so it's a bit redundant and sort of reinterpreting a bit of the convention. So we would suggest perhaps that third decision is not necessary. Thank you, Chair.
United States of America, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Similar to Canada, I think maybe that 20BB can be reworded and sort of recall the guidance, the existing guidance in 11.11, which dictates how trade and source code Y is, it governs trade and source code Y. So maybe recalling the guidance instead of being very prescriptive in his language in the draft decision.
United States of America, just to confirm, so you were suggesting to amend 20BB to like parties are, because currently parties are encouraged to use, so is there alternative language that you have?
Yes, I mean, we can support getting rid of it like Canada, but as a compromised approach, I think we could say parties are encouraged to use the guidance found in Resolution 11.11 when trading in specimens with source code Y.
Fiji, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Fiji welcomes that suggestion by United States. We do understand that the first edition still remains, which is the one that we are really asking for. The second one, we are amenable to the proposal by United States on the use of source code Y. We believe this is a good compromise, and if this can be reflected, this is will be well appreciated. Thank you.
Okay, so my understanding is that 20BB will be removed, and then it'll be replaced with parties are encouraged to verify and document the legal origins of parental stock for specimens produced under source codes A or Y, and make this information available to range states upon request. Then another para on parties are encouraged to use the guidance in Resolution 11.11 on the use of source code Y. Is my understanding correct? Can I get Canada? You have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. I concur with your understanding on the additions proposed by Fiji, but I did not think we were deleting the original 20BB. My understanding was that we were retaining it and adding the two additions.
All right, thank you. So just to sum up, so for 20BB, so now we'll have a new para A, which is parties are encouraged to use the guidance. The original language will be there, the original paragraph, and then there'll be a new para. Parties are encouraged to verify the document, to verify and document the legal origins of parental stock for specimens, produced under source codes A or Y, and make this information available to range states upon request. And then a new third paragraph. Parties are encouraged to use the guidance in Resolution 11.11 on the use of the source code Y. If you have any objections, please press the button now. I'm just looking for objections. Mexico, you have the floor.
Sí, gracias, señora presidenta. Creo que quedaron muy complicadas las decisiones. Lo que entendí de la intervención de Estados Unidos y Canadá, y México estará de acuerdo, es más bien en la redacción original de la decisión 20BB, incluir la referencia al uso del código W. Mi propuesta sería: parties are encouraged to use the guidance, comma, including on the use of source code Y, comma, and then the rest of the text. Thank you.
So I repeat again, so for 20BB, the original draft decision will be there, right? And then there'll be a new para on what I read just now on the verify and document the legal origins by Fiji. And then another new para. Parties are encouraged to use the guidance in Resolution 11.11, including on the use of the source code Y. Is that your intention?
No exactamente, Presidenta, pero México puede estar de acuerdo también con esa opción. Sugeríamos más bien incluir la referencia al uso del código W en el primer párrafo. O sea, solo enmendar la actual decisión 20BB para incluir después de parties are encouraged to use the guidance, el nombre completo de la guía, coma, including the use of source code Y, coma, y después el resto del texto. Así no tenemos 3 decisiones, sino 2 nada más. Gracias.
Okay, so I repeat again, so for 20BB, so parties are encouraged to use the guidance, then the full name, including the use of source code Y, and the guide to the application of CITES source codes, and to provide feedback and information to the Secretariat. Can we all live with this, or is there very strong objection? So that means we don't have a new third para anymore. So that means there will be the 20BB. Parties are encouraged to use the guidance, including the use of source code Y, and the guide to the application, and to provide feedback and information to the Secretariat. Then there'll be the second paragraph from Fiji. Parties are encouraged to verify and document the legal origins of parental stock for specimens produced under source codes A or Y, and make this information available to range states upon request. Then that's it. Only two, just one new paragraph. Okay, thank you very much. So the committee accepts the draft decisions on guidance on terms related to the production and source of CITES regulated plants contained in the annex, with the proposed amendments made on the floor, and also delete decisions 19.182 and 19.183. And I close this agenda item. Thank you, everyone. The next item is 70, item 70, submitted by the Chair of the Standing Committee in consultation with the Chair of the Plants Committee and the Secretariat. So we're invited to agree on the proposed draft decisions in the annex. I also draw your attention to the Secretariat's comments and recommendation to not adopt this decision with the reasons found in the comments section at the end of the document. I open the floor to parties. United States of America, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. The United States does not support adoption of the draft decision 20.AA, and we align ourselves with the comments of the Secretariat. We acknowledge the work has already been done in updating the CITES website with the latest information, and thank the Secretariat for its efforts in this regard. We are generally supportive of efforts to gain a better understanding of how parties implement this special procedure in order to assist with consistent implementation and enforcement. However, due to the limited number of parties that implement these special procedures and recognizing the overwhelming workload of the Standing Committee and the Secretariat, we do not recommend further work to be done on the use of phytosanitary certificates as certificates of artificial propagation at this time. Thank you, Chair.
European Union, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. I speak on behalf of the European Union and its member states. In line with the recommendation of the Secretariat, we do not support the draft decisions 20AA, little a and b, as contained in the annex. The matter was discussed at Standing Committee 77, where it was noted that the information on the CITES website appeared to be outdated. This issue has been addressed by the Secretariat, and the information has been updated via a notification. We would like to note indeed that only a small number of parties make use of the simplified procedure, which is for artificially propagated plants. Reading Standing Committee 77, Document 61, we see no grounds to look further into the matter for improving the special procedures, as there are no compelling arguments identified in the document that justifies this. Therefore, we cannot support the proposed decision. Thank you.
United Kingdom, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. The United Kingdom does not issue phytosanitary certificates, but we do import artificially propagated plants using these certificates. We find difficulties with the plant species names used on phytosanitary certificates, as this does not always match CITES standard nomenclature references. We understand the workload of the Standing Committee, but we would support the draft decision 20AA, as further discussion could be beneficial. We would also appreciate a specific page on phytosanitary certificates on the CITES website, with all the information in one place, to include advice to use CITES standard nomenclature where possible, and the information from the survey by the Republic of Korea presented in SC 77, Document 61, as well as the existing information. Thank you.
Russia Federation, you have the floor.
Спасибо, госпожа председатель. Российская Федерация поддерживает предложение секретариата. Также отмечаем, что фитосанитарные сертификаты в каждой стране регламентируются и выдаются по-разному, и как упрощенная процедура они могут рассматриваться. Спасибо.
I open to non-parties and observer organizations. Thank you. So I see, okay. So what I'm hearing is that there is actually no support for 20AA and also agreement with, but there is agreement with the Secretariat's recommendation. So I will conclude that the committee does not accept the draft decision 20AA in document 70. Do I have any objections? If not, I will close this agenda item. Thank you. So now we are looking at document 96. 96. This document is submitted by the Standing Committee. Parties may wish to recall that this agenda item was one of the few agenda items that were not discussed at SC 78 due to time constraints. Parties therefore reviewed document SC 78, Doc 72, Ref 1, and responded to the notification to the parties 2025-022, which should be considered in informing any potential changes to the proposed draft decisions. So para 26 of the document 96 contains the recommendations. So we will start with recommendation 26A, which is to consider the conclusions and way forward proposed by the chair of the Standing Committee contained in paragraphs 23 to 25. So please look at para 23 to 25 of document 96. So we need to consider the conclusions and way forward proposed by the chair of the Standing Committee. I open the floor to parties. Fiji, you have the floor.
Chair, just to seek clarity, you're only asking us to look at para 23 to 26 for now.
To 25. Para 23 to 25, yeah.
For now.
I just want to see if there's any objections to what is being presented in 25, to 23, 24, and 25. United States of America, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. We support the recommendations from the CITES Secretariat. Thank you.
Okay, so now I will go to 26B and C. So you consider the comments received from the parties in Annex 1 and also the draft decisions contained in Annex 1. Sorry, so for 26B, look at the comments received from the parties contained in Annex 2 and also the draft decisions contained in Annex 1. I open the floor to parties with comments by the Secretariat as well. Thank you. European Union, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. I speak on behalf of the EU and its member states. We find it appropriate to continue the already very substantial work on the edible tuberous orchid trade, which concerns draft decisions 20AA and 20BB small c. We also support the Secretariat in its view that the focus should be on the implementation of the provisions of the Convention rather than adding additional studies. Consequently, we support adoption of the draft decisions as amended by the Secretariat, which includes deleting the unrelated decisions on investigating the effects of possible further exemptions for artificially propagated orchids and orchid products, which concern draft decisions 20BB small a and b, 20CC small a, and 20DD. Thank you, Chair.
United Kingdom, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. The United Kingdom agrees with the EU and supports the amendment of the new decisions as proposed by the Secretariat. We firmly support decision 20BB Part C as it is important to continue the identification and implementation work on edible tuberous orchids to support range states. We recognise resourcing constraints and the need to prioritise work for the next intersessional period, so like the EU, we can also support the deletion of 20BB Part A and B, 20CC Part A, and 20DD. While important, these additional studies on wild harvested orchids could be undertaken by parties and if any amendments are proposed for annotation P3 or number 4, these could be brought by a party for discussion to the Standing Committee's Annotations Working Group instead. Thank you.
I open the floor to non-parties and observer organizations. Okay, seeing none, I will just sum up. So there is consensus in supporting the draft decisions with the comments with the edits of the Secretariat. So the committee Okay, so the committee considered please look at para 26 on the recommendations. So the committee considered the conclusions and way forward proposed by the chair of the standing committee contained in paragraphs 23 to 25, and we also considered the comments received from parties in Annex 2 in the context of any potential revisions to the draft decisions included in Annex 1. And the committee agreed to accept the draft decisions on edible tuberous orchids contained in Annex 1 to the present document, and also with the amendments from the Secretariat, and also delete decisions 19.246 to 19.248. I will close this agenda item. Thank you. So now we go to Agenda 18, Document 18. This document is submitted by the Secretariat in consultation with the Chair of the Standing Committee. So we're invited to adopt the proposed draft decisions in Annex 1 and also consider a potential initiative and continue work on the study which can be found in Annex 2. I now open the floor to parties. Tanzania, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. The United Republic of Tanzania notes the second draft report prepared by the Standing Committee that showed the potential scope of an initiative or sites and forests contained in Annex 2 to the present document. Tanzania also supports adoption of the draft decision on sites and forests contained in Appendix 1 to the document. Also supports deletion of decision 1932 to 1934 as it has been fully implemented. Thank you.
China, you have the floor.
Thanks, Madam Chair. China appreciates the efforts of the Secretariat and welcome the submission of the second draft report on the interdisciplinary study and potential scope of an initiative on CITES and forests to CoP20 for consideration. As highlighted in the summary records of Essay 78, the implementation of this agenda item has not been fully aligned with requirements of Decision 1932 to 1934. Since the report has not undergone through review and it was not known how the Secretariat would address the comments received from the essay and the PC, also from this call. China considers the recommendation under paragraph 10, specifically sub-paragraph B and C, unacceptable. China maintains its position to return decision 1933 to 1934 and cannot support the draft decision connected in Annex 1. We propose renewing the decision 1933 to 1934 to ensure that work under the convention procedures in strict accordance with the procedures established by the Conference of the Parties. Thanks, Madam Chair.
European Union, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. I'm speaking on behalf of the EU and its member states, and we thank the Secretariat for the document and acknowledge the progress made. We take note of the draft report on the interdisciplinary study and the potential scope of an initiative on CITES and forests as recommended in the document. However, like China, we do not consider that decisions 19.32 and 19.34 have been fully implemented. While we continue to support the work, we consider some of the new draft decisions to be premature, in particular highlighting that they require the review by the Plants Committee. With this in mind, we have several suggestions for amending the draft decisions, which we have submitted to the Secretariat, and we would like to summarise these as follows. With regard to draft decision 20AA under letter B, we suggest to adapt the language that would capture the fact that the establishment of further initiatives on CITES and forests has not as yet been fully decided. Under draft decision 20BB part P, we consider it premature to refer to the potential initiative on CITES and forests without the pending review by the Plants Committee and recommendations subsequently by the Standing Committee. Under decision 20BB part C, we consider the report from the implementation of the decision under 20BB little b should only again be done after the Plants Committee has completed its review. And the work directed to the Plants Committee under 20CC should start with the Plants Committee review of the current report and its matrices. Under draft decision 20DD, we consider that work directed to the Standing Committee in points A to C of this decision again should only be done after the Plants Committee has reviewed the report of the interdisciplinary study and provided recommendations to direct any future scope for the work on the CITES and forests. While we note not all elements in the decisions 19.32 and 19.34 have been implemented, however, if 20CC is amended to direct the Plants Committee to review the report, these decisions we feel could be deleted. Thank you.
European Union, just a clarification, if we do renew decisions 19.32 to 19.34 and not agree to the draft decisions, would that have captured your proposed amendments or edits?
We'll just check here. Thank you, Chair.
I'll come back to you. India, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. India welcomes the recommendation of the Secretariat on combating the illegal trade in edible tuberous orchids. India wishes to note that verifying whether the specimens used in finished cosmetic products are artificially propagated presents an implementation challenge.
India, we are on agenda 18, CITES and...
sorry.
Yeah.
I'll get back.
Malaysia, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. We thank the Secretariat for the work on CITES and forest. Malaysia adheres to the principle of sustainable forest management as defined by ITTO. The Forestry Department are part of the national bodies responsible for CITES in ensuring the conservation of CITES tree species. Malaysia would like to take note on the second draft report of the interdisciplinary study and the potential scope of the initiative of CITES on forests and forest content in Annex 2 and agreed to the deletion of decisions 19.32 to 19.34. However, we would like to make a small amendment to draft decision on CITES and forest content in Annex 1 as followed. That is 20 AA small b, after the word funding, insert O and delete N. Thank you, Chair.
Canada, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair.
Canada notes the excellent progress on this agenda item, and we're keen to be engaged in the development of this potential initiative moving forward. We anticipate this is a common sentiment, so we would recommend that this initiative go through the committees again, as recommended by the EU. We would also note the word concern, or we would also note concern with the language in 20BB A2, which uses the word consolidate to describe bringing together these decisions, which could imply substantive changes. And so perhaps you could rewrite this as update rather than consolidate, to include the outcomes of COP20 and other COPs relevant to CITES listed tree species. Additionally, we don't think this should be subject to external resources, so would recommend moving this up to Section A so it can become a standalone activity. Finally, we would like to give the Secretariat, we would like to encourage the Secretariat to give equal consideration to amending the CITES tree species program rather than establishing a new initiative. And so we would propose changes to the draft decision 20BB A1 to read, consider the proposed scope of a proposed initiative on CITES and forests, or to amend the CITES tree species program to accomplish multiple objectives. However, if this goes back to the committees, we don't need to see that reflected in this decision. Thank you, Chair.
Brazil, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. While we fully recognize the important role CITES plays in regulating international trade in endangered plant species, we believe that it's appropriate to reflect very carefully on whether broader forest-related matters fall within the mandate of this convention. Issues concerning sustainable management of forests are already being addressed in a more comprehensive and holistic manner under the United Nations Forum of Forests, UNFF, which remains the dedicated forum for such discussions. Given the increasing demand workload faced by CITES Secretariat, we are concerned that adding additional forest-focused initiatives may divert attention and resources from the Convention's core responsibilities, where its expertise is most needed. We therefore kindly suggest CITES maintain its clear focus on its established mandate, while forest policies matters continue to be guided by the UNFF. And because of that, we think that some of the decisions included in Annex 1 could be deleted. Firstly, I think that 20BB, we would prefer not to have little a, not to have little I and double I. On 20BB, little b, we would delete the text and ensure effective communications until the end. Delete little b3. And for decision 20DD, delete A, B, and C. And on D, delete the text aimed at enhancing the implementation of the mandate of the Convention. Thank you.
European Union, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. And I just looked back on the decisions, 19.32 to 19.34. Many of the elements are completed. I suppose really what we want is the Plants Committee review. So I think we would prefer to work on the new set of draft decisions as outlined in the annex. And I feel with the extensive edits provided by the EU and also now Brazil and others, I think perhaps we might need to look at this in a drafting group. Thank you.
Yes, European Union, I will have no time to take the edits and debate here, so I would suggest that European Union and Brazil Yeah, European Union and Brazil, can you please meet together, go through the edits, but you have to submit it before 6 o'clock to the Secretariat today. Yeah. I'll let you reflect for a while first, but Senegal, you have the floor, then I will open to non-parties and observer organizations.
Nous remercions le secrétariat pour le travail fourni. On ne peut pas, la CITES ne peut pas occulter certes les forêts d'où viennent les espèces que nous gérons, mais cette question a été rejetée, controversée lors de la SC 78 par plusieurs partis qui ont fait remarquer que le projet dépassait le mandat de la CITES. Et sur ce, nous pensons que cette mission créerait une nouvelle charge de travail importante à la CITES qui parfois est confrontée à des mobilisations de budget. L'adage dit que qui embrasse trop, mal étreint. Mais cela ne veut pas dire que la CITES ne soit pas avoir au regard. Peut-être dans un cas de synergie, parce qu'il existe une mission comme ça, Commission Forêt et Faune, à la FAO, la CITES pourrait bien travailler en collaboration avec, mais quant à prendre la question en charge, ça demandera encore plus de budget pour le secrétariat et plus de fonds. Je crois qu'il faut revoir de fait et voir la réalité et laisser tomber cette idée. Merci.
So Canada and China, am I seeing that you want to be in the drafting group? I see Canada nodding. China? Okay, so I will just form the drafting group now, and you have to send in the document before 6 p.m. today to the Secretariat. So the drafting group will be China, Canada, EU, and Brazil. I open the floor to non-parties and observer organizations. Okay, so I will put this document on ITTO, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. This is a statement which is going to be delivered on behalf of the Collaborative Partnership on Forests and its 6 member organizations. Forests have multi-functions and provide nature-based solutions to many global challenges, including climate change, environmental degradation, biodiversity loss, food insecurity, and poverty. As emphasized in the first global stocktake of the Paris Agreement, greater efforts must be made to halt and reverse deforestation and forest degradation by 2030 and increase forest area worldwide if we are to achieve the 2030 global forest-related goals and targets, including those of the Montreal Global Biodiversity Framework. The good news is that the deforestation rate declined in all regions in the most recent decade, as shown in the Global Forest Resource Assessment 2025, which was just released by FAO on 21st October this year. But at 10.9 million hectares of forest lost per year, including an estimated 1.61 million hectares of irreplaceable primary forest, the rate is still far too high. Wildfires, pests, diseases, and extreme weather are also damaging about 170 million hectares of forest annually. Bold, urgent, and innovative actions are therefore needed. Tackling unregulated harvest and trade by conserving and sustainably using forest species, especially the more than 800 cited
ITTO, I need you to wrap up now. ITTO,
makes
I need
real
to wrap
an
up
important
now.
contribution to the conservation
ITTO,
and
please,
sustainable
I need you to
management
wrap up
of
now.
forests. In this respect, through the joint initiative on the CITES Tree Species Project led by the CITES Secretariat.
ITTO, I need you to wrap up
The
now.
CPF is helping to enhance compliance with CITES.
I'm sorry, ITTO, it's more than 2 minutes and I really need to move on. I still have a lot of agenda items to complete. Thank you. So now we are at item 23. Item 23, the document is submitted by the Secretariat. I understand that the Secretariat has some updates in introducing this agenda item. I give the floor to the Secretariat. Okay, there is no update from the Secretariat, so the committee is requested to consider the draft decision in annex to the document and also delete decisions 19.49 and 19.50. So I open the floor to parties. Canada, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Canada strongly supports this program, and we believe it can be leveraged to support multiple priorities, such as expanding timber identification reference databases. With this in mind, we'd like to suggest a new subsection to this decision directed towards the Secretariat between sections C and D that reads, identify opportunities to leverage the CITES tree species program to advance complementary areas of CITES work, such as the work on timber
Canada is too fast. Can you slow down,
Oh,
please?
sorry. Yes, of
Thank
course.
you.
Identify opportunities to leverage the CITES tree species program to advance complementary areas of CITES work, such as the work on timber identification. We also noticed that the Secretariat deleted the portions of the decision where the Plants Committee and the Standing Committee are involved in funding decisions. And so we were looking to clarify for the record of who makes the decisions around funding and whether this rests solely with the donors or if there's other mechanisms involved. With regards to the deletion of the decisions, we do understand that financial management rests in the decisions of the Secretariat, and we respect that. But we would like to see a role for the Plants Committee and the Standing Committee to provide guidance on the priorities for the funding, should that funding become available. And so to this end, we would recommend the insertion of, after the term guidance, including on priority activities. And thank you, Chair.
Can you please repeat your insertion of the new text again, identify opportunities?
Yes, so that was section C, and after guidance, the text would be including on priority activities.
No, the identify opportunities to leverage on.
Oh, yes. Identify opportunities to leverage the CITES tree species program to advance complementary areas of CITES work, such as the work on timber identification. Thank you, Chair.
United States of America, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. The United States strongly supports efforts to ensure that parties are effectively implementing CITES tree species listings. Such efforts ensure a level playing field for traders and consumers and prevents illegally harvested timber from entering markets. The United States believes there should be improved transparency in how projects are selected and how the CITES tree species program is governed. Therefore, we oppose the deletion of the phrase including funding decisions in draft decision 20.XX subparagraph C and suggest that it be revised to including funding decisions as appropriate. With this amendment, as well as the amendments suggested by Canada, the United States supports adoption of the draft decision with the other amendments suggested by the Secretariat as well. And we also support deletion of decisions 19.49 and 19.50. Thank you, Chair.
European Union, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. I speak on behalf of the European Union and its member states. We are grateful for the document submitted by the Secretariat. We are committed to CITES and its goals playing a crucial role in the protection of species of wild fauna and flora. Consequently, we have been suggesting and supporting justified listing proposals in the past and will continue in future. However, the Convention will not be successful just by listing species. Its implementation, including but not limited to legal acquisition finding and non-detriment finding, is paramount to its functioning. We are therefore glad to be able to contribute to this goal by supporting the CITES tree species program in the past and for the next years. In conclusion, the EU support the deletion of decisions 19.49 and 19.50. We also support to adopt the draft decision as proposed by the Secretariat and contained in the annex to CoP20 Doc 23, and responding to the previous speakers regarding the suggestion from Canada on inclusion of timber identification opportunities, we would be in agreement with that. We would kindly like to ask the Secretariat to respond to how decisions on the funding will be made and that the donor will not be involved in that. And regarding the amendment by the US on as appropriate, we would like to have clarification if that means that in case a contract does not foresee this, this will not happen, because the current contract does not foresee that, and it's not possible to change a current contract. Thank you very much, Chair.
Can I get United States of America to provide clarification on that first, the funding decisions as appropriate?
Thank you, Chair. Reacting to the intervention from the European Union, if the contract doesn't provide for the Plans Committee and the Standing Committee providing input on funding decisions, then it's clear that that cannot happen. But in the event that's an opportunity, we would like the Standing Committee and the Plans Committee to be involved in those discussions. Thank you, Chair.
I will give the floor to the Secretary General first to provide the clarification on funding.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As in the past with the previous CTSP, the continuation of this CTSP program also has criteria that is developed in coordination with the donor on who would be eligible for to receive the funding from the project. And based on that criteria, the Secretariat reads through the proposals that are sent to us, and we see if it matches the criteria that is expected in terms of the agreement with the donor, and of course taking into account what is needed in terms of implementation of the convention related to CITES listed species of timber. And based on that criteria, then we choose the projects or the beneficiaries of the CTSP. So this is done in coordination with the donor. There's also, we have a steering committee that is part of that is overseeing the implementation, and that includes the donor, that includes the beneficiaries, that includes those regional support that we will get for the different projects that are included in the CTSP. And we will be informing, as we have in the past, the Plans Committee and the Standing Committee on the implementation of the project. So at that time, there would be a possibility to guide better the Secretariat, or to give input into the project results or outcomes, or the midterm in terms of the review, requesting an evaluation, as we have done in the past too, of the project. So this is the normal procedures that we have with the projects. Again, it is extra budgetary funding that's being received from the donor, but of course it's always in line with the effective implementation of the convention and the decisions related to those CITES listed species, and in this case timber species. I hope that helps answer the question. Thank you, Madam Chair.
European Union, I would just want to turn back to you because United States of America has already provided clarification. So would you still be okay with including funding decisions as appropriate, because I hear that it's depending on the contract? European Union, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. And with this clarification, we could agree with this. Thank you.
I'm closing the speaker list. So I have China and Tanzania. China, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. China appreciates to the Secretariat for its work in implementing the decision of a CITES tree species program. We support the draft decision on the CTSP as contained in the annex. As a major importer of tree species, China takes its responsibilities seriously. In line with our commitment to sustainable trade and legal compliance, China Management Authority has supported the development of portable AI-based timber species identification tool by the CITES Wildlife Forensic Test Laboratory in China. This portable tool aims to assist in rapid and accurate field timber identification, thereby reduced compliance and enforcement burden of all parties. So we are committed to collaborate with range states, importing countries, other CITES forensic identification laboratories, and research institutes worldwide to expand the reference database and improve its practical application. China supports the Secretariat's efforts and encourages all parties to participate actively in the CTSP. Such cooperation will help promoting sustainable trade, strengthen forest governance, and support the conservation of tree species biodiversity. Thank you, Chair.
Tanzania, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. The United Republic of Tanzania support adoption of the draft decision on CITES tree species and the support program in the annex to the present document. Also supports deletion of decision number 1949 and 1950. Tanzania has applied for financial support through CITES tree species program. The funds are important in supporting conservation efforts. Tanzania argues that the priority for the support should focus on member states that are implementing long-term actions, such as those under review of significant trade. Thank you.
I open the floor to non-parties and observer organizations. Okay, thank you very much. So I will just sum up on the edits. So in the Annex 20XX, paragraph C, paragraph little c, provide opportunities for the Plants Committee and the Standing Committee to be involved in providing advice and guidance, including on priorities to the program, including funding decisions as appropriate. I repeat again, provide opportunities for the Plants Committee and the Standing Committee to be involved in providing advice and guidance, including on priorities to the program, including funding decisions as appropriate. Okay, then I move to the new para after C by Canada. Identify opportunities to leverage CITES tree species program to advance complementary areas of CITES work, such as the work on timber identification. So any objections to the amendments? Okay, I do not see any requests from the floor. So the committee is invited to accept the draft decision on CITES tree species program contained in the annex with the proposed amendments as read out, and delete decisions 19.49 and 19.50. I close the agenda item. Thank you. Next item, 24. 24. United Nations World Wildlife Day has been submitted by the Secretariat. We are invited to note the present document. I will open the floor to parties, but I appreciate if your interventions are very short. This document is only to note. Singapore, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Singapore commends the Secretariat, parties, and relevant organizations for facilitating the successful observance of World Wildlife Day. And Singapore reaffirms our commitment through the World Wildlife Day Regional Youth Symposium, organized by youth volunteers under the Youth Stewards for Nature program by National Parks Board, Singapore's CITES MA. This year's symposium achieved record participation with 700 attendees from 26 countries, and the 2026 iteration will include youth from the CITES Global Youth Network Asia in the organizing team. Singapore welcomes parties to join us and looks forward to continued collaboration in empowering the next generation of conservation leaders. Thank you, Madam Chair.
India, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. India wishes to note its appreciation to the CITES Secretariat and the parties for taking up the matter regarding awareness of wildlife conservation to the grassroots levels through organizing World Wildlife Day. Chair, this year, 2025, in India, Honorable Prime Minister of India chaired a meeting on National Board of Wildlife on World Wildlife Day and laid the foundation for National Referral Center for Wildlife, and several other wildlife-related projects has been launched. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. So I'll close the speaker list. I open to non-parties and observer organizations. I'm just going to take one. I4, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. I4 simply wishes to confirm its commitment to the partnership, and we look forward to hosting the Youth Art Contest again this year, even if the theme is somewhat difficult for an animal organisation. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. So the committee noted the present document. Thank you. I close this agenda item. The next item is 26. Item 26, submitted by China, Costa Rica, Ghana, Kuwait, Philippines, Singapore, South Africa, Sudan, Zambia, Zimbabwe. I now invite Kuwait to introduce the document. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Kuwait will be introducing document 26 on behalf of the co-proponents. The Standing Committee at its 78th meeting endorsed the collaborative effort of Singapore and the other participating parties in developing the CITES Global Youth Network. This support has enabled significant progress in the youth engagement with CITES. In May 2025, in inaugural CITES Global Youth Summit was successfully organized in Singapore, bringing together 76 youth from 53 jurisdictions across all the 6 CITES regions. These participants were nominated by CITES parties and observer organizations. During the summit, youth were grouped by region to develop collaborative youth project with a 5-month follow-up period. This extended timeline in design to foster lasting connection to ensure meaningful outcome beyond the event itself. Considering these positive development youth engagement, the co-proponent proposed amendment to the resolution Conf 17.5. The proposed amendments are detailed in Annex 1 of the present document for consideration. The Conference of the Party invited to note the development of the Global Youth Network and the positive outcome of the CITES Global Youth Summit, and adopted the proposed amendment to the resolution COP 17.5 contained in Annex 1 to the present document. Finally, we would like to acknowledge additional parties that responded after the deadline, including Malaysia and Afghanistan, who are supportive of this initiative but were not included in the formal proponent list due to timing. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. So the committee is to note the development of the CITES Global Youth Network and also the proposed amendments to the Resolution Conference 17.5 in Annex 1, and also Secretariat's amendments to Operative Paragraph 4. So I'll be opening the floor to parties only for these comments. If you support Resolution Conference 17.5 and also the amendments to Operative Paragraph 4 by the Secretariat. So please be concise with your intervention. Thank you. UAE, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. The UAE expresses its strong support for CoP20 Doc 26 and the proposed amendments to Resolution Conf 17.5. We commend Singapore and all co-proponents for their leadership in establishing the CITES Global Youth Network and for the successful organization of the first Global Youth Summit. This initiative represents an important step forward in institutionalizing youth engagement within the CITES framework. We support the proposed amendments that further integrate youth engagement into the work of the Convention and look forward for the continued cooperation with parties and the Secretariat to strengthen and grow this initiative. Thank you.
European Union, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As a member of the CITES Global Youth Network, I will now speak on behalf of the EU and its member states. The EU and its member states warmly welcome the development of the CITES Global Youth Network and the positive outcomes of the CITES Global Youth Summit. We commend the strong leadership and commitment demonstrated by Singapore and all contributing partners. We support the adoption of the proposed amendments to Resolution Conf 17.5 on youth engagement, recognizing their importance in formalizing and strengthening youth participation in the CITES. We encourage interested parties and organizations to explore opportunities to support future CITES Global Youth Summits and regional activities, including through financial and in-kind contributions. We commend the youth-led projects emerging from the inaugural summit, which clearly demonstrate the tangible value of structured youth engagement in addressing wildlife trade challenges. Thank you.
United States of America, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. The United States strongly supports youth engagement, but does not support preferential treatment for one age demographic, which this program appears to promote. Therefore, the United States supports the proposed amendments to the Resolution Conference 17.5 on youth engagement, but with several qualifying edits to ensure that this work is subject to the availability of resources and will have no impact on the core budget, and to not impose age limits that would prejudice youth in hiring long term. If the Chair will allow, I'll briefly read those out now. On operative paragraph 2, after the word "where feasible," insert "and appropriate." In operative paragraph 3, at the end of the sentence after when feasible, insert and appropriate. Operative paragraph 4, after the Secretariat, insert comma, subject to the availability of extra budgetary resources, comma, and after when feasible, insert and appropriate. In operative paragraph 5, after the final sentence and when feasible, insert and appropriate. In operative paragraph 6, after collaborate, insert comma, subject to the availability of extra budgetary resources, comma. Thank you.
Translators, can I have 10 more minutes? Thank you. Thank you. Papua New Guinea, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Papua New Guinea is one of the 3 countries in the Oceania region who participated in the inaugural CITES Global Youth Summit earlier this year in May, Singapore. As the youth representative from the CITES MA, PNG, through the youth rep, had the first-hand experience on the influence this youth network has on the youth capacity building, particularly on CITES. We have seen the progress made by the youth by comparing their involvement in CITES-related work in building confidence level on this particular youth before and after the summit, and have seen a positive impact on the concerned individual. PNG would like to encourage more of such summit, therefore would like to support the proposed amendments to this document proposed by the CITES Secretariat in Annex 1 of the present document. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. I have a long list of speakers. So if you are supporting or congratulating the CGYN for its work, please continue to leave your button on, to press the button, so that your support is recorded in the summary records. I will have no time to go through the speaker list. So if you want to support or congratulate the CGYN, press your button so that your support is recorded in the summary records. Okay, so I'll read out now. Senegal, China, Fiji, Zimbabwe, Malaysia, Zambia, Switzerland, India, Bahrain, Nigeria, Singapore, Togo, Benin, Kenya, Uganda, Bangladesh, Solomon Islands, Botswana, Sudan, South Africa, Lesotho, Liberia, United Kingdom, Mexico, DRC, Congo, Mali, Tanzania, Burkina Faso, Kazakhstan, Russian Federation, Sierra Leone, Sri Lanka, Denmark, Nepal, Namibia, Niger, Gabon, Mozambique, and Guinea. Thank you very much. I will now open the floor to non-parties and observer organizations. Mandai Nature, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. This intervention is made on behalf of Mandai Nature, AZA, BirdLife International, IAZA, IUCN, WCS, and WAZA. We welcome and support the proposed amendments on youth engagement. The amended resolution introduces a credible and party-led mechanism for youth participation, ensuring that contributions are structured, accountable, and aligned with national processes. The observer organizations we represent reaffirm our commitment to supporting the CITES Global Youth Network. We view this as a timely and meaningful step forward for youth empowerment, and we encourage parties to endorse the amendments and support the CITES Global Youth Network. Thank you, Chair.
Suko SA, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. In the essence of time, I shall try and be brief. Naturally, we congratulate this. We have from the outset. but we would urge parties to consider two small but relatively positive slight alterations, if we may, which fall at the bottom of page 4 of the document, where the numbered paragraphs exist. And the first one is to paragraph 2, where we'd like the inclusion of "and observer organizations." So it would read, invites parties and observer organizations to explore opportunities and so forth. That's the first request. And the second request is in paragraph 3, where we would like the inclusion of the word or the term "and to facilitate." It would read as follows: invites parties and observer organizations to include youth delegates on official delegations and provide learning opportunities as citing meetings, and to facilitate and or participate in activities of the CITES Global Youth Network, and so on. That is our submission, and we believe these will be small, subtle, but valuable improvements to the document. Thank you very much for the time.
Okay, thank you. So now we'll round back to the edits from United States of America. I just want to see if there's any strong objections to the edits by the United States of America to the Resolution Conference 17.5. I can repeat it again and just let me know if it's correct. So para 2, where feasible, comma, as appropriate, and where feasible and as appropriate. And then para 3 at the end, when feasible and appropriate as well. Para 4 invites parties and the Secretariat, subject to availability of extra budgetary resources. Then the sentence follows: to collaborate when feasible and as appropriate. So para 4, there's invites parties and the Secretariat, and then insertion of new text, subject to availability of extra budgetary resources, to collaborate when feasible and as appropriate. Then para 5, at the end of when feasible and as appropriate. And para 6 invites the Secretariat to collaborate, subject to availability of extra budgetary resources. Then the rest of the sentence follows. Are there any strong objections from the floor for the edits from the United States of America? I'm only looking for strong objections. Fiji, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. I've been actually pressing the buzzer for some time, and I'm sorry you may have not seen it, but we also have an amendment. While we welcome this InfoDoc 26 and also support the proposed amendments, Chair, as a small island developing state, Fiji attaches high importance to youth empowerment. Our young people are central to safeguarding fragile island ecosystems and continue to our cultural stewardship for biodiversity. However, we also note from the participation list from the Pacific and other CITES region, it remains, in this global youth process, it remains largely limited and largely due to resource and access barriers. To ensure that the Global Youth Network grows in a manner that is equitable and inclusive, Fiji proposes a small but critical addition to the operative text. Specifically, we will propose inserting a new paragraph immediately after paragraph 4 of the recommendation section to read, bearing in mind the US language, where we suggest encourages parties and the Secretariat, comma, subject to the availability of external resources, comma, to ensure balanced regional representation in the CITES or CITES Global Youth Network, comma, with particular consideration for youth from developing countries, from small island developing states and least developed countries. I'll repeat. Encourages parties in the Secretariat, comma, subject to the availability of external resources, comma, to ensure balanced regional representation in the CITES Global Youth Network, comma, with particular consideration for youth from SIDS and least developed countries. Chair, this alignment aligns fully with the spirit of this resolution. It also places no new obligation on parties, but it ensures that youth from all regions, including remote island nations like ours with limited capacity, have a fair opportunity to participate, contribute, and lead. With this addition, Fiji strongly supports the adoption of the revised resolution.
Zimbabwe, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. I wouldn't like to waste much of our time, but I just want the USA to explain why they are replacing when feasible with where appropriate each time when feasible appears. Just for clarity, Madam Chair.
United States of America, you have the floor. To clarify.
Could you please repeat?
I think Zimbabwe had a question on your edits and as appropriate, so I think they wanted clarification on that.
Thank you. As appropriate, just make sure that the resources are being used as they should be. And that, this is about age in particular, and so we don't want to single out any particular age, and so we just want to make sure in that sense.
Okay, I see no requests from the floor. I really want to close this item now, so I will read the new edit from Fiji just to make sure it's correct. So it's after operative paragraph 4, encourages parties and the Secretariat, subject to availability of extra budgetary resources, to ensure balanced regional representations with particular consideration for youths from small island developing states and least developing countries. Any strong objections to that? I see no requests from the floor. So the Fiji, you have the floor.
Sorry, Chair, I think it's small island developing states, it's not island states. Thank you.
So the committee note the development of the CITES Global Youth Network and the positive outcomes of the CITES Global Youth Summit, and accepts the proposed amendments to Resolution Conference 17.5 Ref COP 18 contained in Annex 1 and with the proposed amendments from the floor, and also CITES Secretariat's amendments to operative paragraph 4. And I close this agenda item. Thank you. Okay, I will close today's session. Thank you very much for your cooperation, because I think we have sort of caught up, but we still have half a day to catch up tomorrow. I will hand over now to Secretariat for housekeeping. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. This is a kind reminder that all in-session documents must be submitted to the Secretariat by 6 p.m. 6 p.m. today, including the drafting group that was just formed this afternoon in this committee. One working group that will be meeting, Finance and Budget Working Group, will be meeting in Snow Leopard Room at 6:30 p.m. Thank you.